6.
We should have asked this before we got into the rating stuff, but
I'm like a strong 4.5.
Oh my god.
Like a 6.5.
6.
6.5.
9.
5.
Q.
6.3.
I give myself a 5. Andrew.
I'm a 4 for sure, or less.
All
I
right.
think you're beautiful, Andrew.
Yo, Craze, thank you for the gifted 10 subs.
What's it? It's like
Twitch.
I got the patronizing beautiful and everything. It's like that's like the head pat where they're like, no, 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 come on, no. It's like, come on.
I think
come
everybody's
on.
beautiful.
You can just make it a little bit less patronizing for me.
So do you think you're the most attractive girl here? Since you rated yourself the highest?
I think you're very, very gorgeous. I would
Thank you.
definitely rate you way higher.
Thank you.
And I'm not trying to compete just for my personal preference. I would date someone who looks like me, just off the looks alone.
Okay. All right. Actually, Austin, let's do this. Pull up the True Rate Me guide for women. And I'm just curious if this would adjust your ranking at all for you. All right. So God tier 10 is God tier. Basically, no one meets the standard. No examples because this level is unobtainable. Now, 9.5, that's the top 0.002%, 1 out of 50,000. That's ultra attractive, super top model tier. Now, you might shift.
This chart is bugged, boys.
It's a bit bugged. Granted, look, I would not rank some of these people where they're at. I might shift some up. I might shift some down. This was not made by me, okay?
That whole top row, all those women, they're hideous. What do you mean?
Well, not hideous, okay? They're not
hideous. None of them are
hideous.
good looking. Not a one of them.
Wait, hold on. Okay,
Don't
good.
shade
Wait,
Adriana.
Kelly,
Beautiful.
Andrew, Kelly Gale is she's. I give her 8.
Wait, pull it back up.
I give Kelly
Let me
Gale
see.
maybe an 8. Maybe.
Adriana Lima.
No, that's just an average-looking broad.
All right. Andrew he has very high standards. We should have Andrew. Andrew, why don't you make one of these?
I think you should just reverse some of the rows. That's all.
Well, in any case, so I agree with you there that you could move some of these women up, move some of them down.
Yeah.
It's just sort of a general guide. I didn't make it. It's from this Reddit. So 9 is top 0.005%. 1 out of 20,000 people will be a 9. That's extremely attractive, top model tier. I don't even think though, like model women, I don't think like their faces are like the super.
The supermodels.
A lot of them have like the unique. They have got maybe a unique look. It doesn't always translate to like. Anyways, yeah.
So like up at the top there, you should take that Frida chick, move her down, and then move that Kelsey chick up.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
For sure.
So, okay,
I
8.5.
agree.
Scroll down just a bit. 8.5, that's the top 0.03%. That's 1 out of 3,000. 8% or 8 is top 0.134%. That's 1 out of 750. Very attractive model tier. They got to redo this chart, man. I don't know. It's a little
Emily's
scuffed.
down at
It's
7.5.
bugged. This thing is bugged.
It's bugged.
Yeah, what is it?
boys.
What is it based
bugged.
on? I need to see what it's based on.
I don't know. It's bugged.
Somebody just made up a chart.
It's
Yeah,
bugged,
that's
boys.
that's not changing
Yeah,
my
that's
mind.
somebody-
I'm
Doesn't
sorry.
change it. All right, I thought I'd show it. Really quick, just to kind of wrap up the conversation on the whole like waiting to hook up thing. There is one image, Austin, if you can pull that up. This is kind of like. That's like, you know what I mean? That's kind of like, okay, you're gonna be you. Do you want to be that guy in the suit? And here's the crazy thing: a girl will be like, "Yo, I want to wait 3 months before hooking up with you," and then as soon as you break up, the next boyfriend, he's not gonna have to wait. The next guy, boom, instant, son. I'm just saying, it's boys.
I think Brian.
What's up?
I think you're a little traumatized.
Yeah, like personal.
Okay, bro. Look, I don't know if you're just bad in what's the analogy?
What? Hey, hang on. This is some Benedict Arnold going on right now. Some Benedict Arnold going on, Brian.
Who's that?
Q's Benedict Arnold.
Is that
Being
the
a Benedict Arnold?
Is that the guy who
Totally.
turned on the U.S.?
Yeah, he turned on Washington. Yep.
On the he like went to the British.
He joined the Redcoats.
The
Yeah,
British,
Joined
yeah.
the Redcoats.
I got a tendency to psychoanalyze, so I'm wondering why Brian is so hyper fixated on.
It's Judas-like behavior is what I see.
Bro,
Judas-like
so what?
behavior.
So you're telling me, Q, you've never encountered a girl who's like every single girl. Isn't your body count? Well, I don't want. Okay, I'm not gonna reveal anything. You're every single girl you've dated, you've fucked all of them right away.
Yeah.
First or second, every single one. There's never been a girl who was like, oh, no way.
I could probably tell you why she's like that.
Why? Who?
Why the girl is making you wait. I feel like it's probably because every other guy before that has probably not taken her seriously, even when they did sleep with her. So she probably just got exhausted about it.
Sure.
And she's probably just trying to break the cycle. And it probably has nothing to do with you. Probably just the fact that every guy before
This
that.
makes
told you
Brian's
that.
I
point.
completely agree.
I
No,
told
Wait,
you
that
that.
makes Brian's point. That makes
yeah.
Brian's point.
That's
That's faking virtue.
Is
that
it,
would
or
be-
is
it
that would
faking
be-
but that's what I said
I don't think
earlier.
she's wrong. I don't think she's
Oh,
wrong.
I mean,
she's
yeah.
trying to
That.
protect herself?
No, I
I did
said
too.
you perfect. You were well within your right to say that. I'm not waiting.
Yeah.
But I said they be going on these little self-healing journeys, and they're
No,
tired of.
I
they're
don't think
tired of-
self-healing. I think it's just trying to protect herself from another.
It's a lot of
what
self-healing
she's trying
journeys
to
too.
heal.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
I-
It's a self-healing journey.
Yeah,
That's
so
what
it's
it-
hang
yes,
on.
that bullshit.
So it's that would be faking virtue.
Yeah.
So that moves right into this idea. So the idea here is just, hey, I'm not going to do this because I think it'll give me a different outcome, not because I'm going to do this for some type of like higher reason or because I don't want to sleep with this guy. It's just like I'm going to try something different because it'll give me a different outcome. So now I'm not going to sleep. That I think is faking virtue. I think
like-
that's what that is.
How is it faking though if that's how she feels?
I think virtue's like that's kind of a loaded word, and like it's. I think there's like cleared. I think there's a little bit of confusion in a way. Like I think a woman could see a cycle in her past of, okay, I keep sleeping with these men and I'm not getting the outcome that I want. So here comes along this guy. Let me switch up my pattern because I want a different outcome, not because all of a sudden homegirl picked up a Bible and decided she wants to be the next Mary. I think,
But we would agree, right? And so I agree. So let me kind of give you an olive branch. I agree that virtue can be a very loaded word. I don't think though that you and I are speaking past each other when we use the word. I think we would probably use it kind of the same way. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think we would. In this case, though, with Brian, this is actually making his point either way. So if you say she's just doing this because she's working on herself for a different outcome, he's like, well, what? I'm the guy who gets screwed over here, right? I'm the guy who gets left behind. So that would make his point. Or the alternative to this is I'm doing this because I want you to think differently of me. Even though I want to do this, and that would be faking virtue. So like I said, it's like a double-edged sword, this question. That's why I don't have a great answer for it.
Well, I don't think anyone's disagreeing with Brian's view, right? Yeah.
I'd be so annoyed if I were a guy and she wasn't putting
yeah.
out. Fuck.
Yeah, right. But it's like at the same time. So for you, the faking part would be just because like she wants to do it, but she doesn't because of her own personal reasons.
What
Is that
about like
correct?
self-control?
No. That wouldn't be the faking. That wouldn't be the faking virtue
Okay.
scenario.
Yeah. Okay.
That would be the Brian just feels like he's getting over because why me?
Right.
Why do I happen to be the guy you start this with?
Right.
So that wouldn't be the faking virtue part.
Okay.
The faking virtue part would be if you were like, okay, I have changed my moral system, and that's why I'm not doing this, right? With you. So and they're only really faking the moral system part because they want the guy to think differently of them.
So they're
that's the double-edged question here.
so they're only changing their views for that one person, but not for everybody else. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, they're just basing it on how they're perceived. So I'm changing this behavior because this guy or these groups of guys or whatever will perceive me differently. That would be the faking virtue.
Yeah. So it's like it's
On
not
the
a
other
genuine.
end of it, the other end of it, from the secular end of it, let's say, the idea would just be, well, that's up. How come I get the short end of the stick? And John over there, right, he got the all-you-could-eat buffet night one. Why do I have to get the crumbs from Longshank's table, right, when I want the whole country, right? That would be the basic kind of objection here, right?
And let me just respond to Brian, because Brian my homie. But I was just curious, like the
That's
answer.
a very smooth transition from the Benedict Arnold I saw just mere minutes ago.
It was an honest inquiry. It was an honest inquiry, Andrew. But I'm just saying, you asked, like, surely I've dated women who probably done that. All the women that I've taken serious, like the last 3 women that I dated had a combined body count of 3. My last 2 girlfriends were virgins. So I like the innocent type of women. My body count didn't come from me pursuing women. Women have thrown themselves at me. Remember, I made the Shade Room. I was one of the zaddies. I had over 5,000 women in my DM. Women like, oh my God, da 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 da. I'm not the guy to always say no. You know, I take them up on the offer sometimes. They've driven themselves out. They've flown themselves out. I didn't pay for anything. So that's typically what it comes from. But the women I approach, it's the innocent type, the wholesome type, the girl who's sitting in the corner reading a book. She doesn't party, she doesn't club. I like those women.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I agree with you in terms of my, interest in women. I prefer those kinds of women. But I've also, I'm pretty open about this. Have I encountered this in my own dating life? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I've encountered women who, I don't know how many times, bro.
Just
enough, bro. Enough. It's just like, maybe you haven't had that happen, but you've dated a girl where it's like,
bro, you can go see me on the Shade Room. You can literally go look me up on the Shade Room. I'm still up there. 50,000 likes.
No, but you've encountered some girl that's like, this is you're dealing with some bull scenario with a girl.
Yeah.
And so I've encountered it, I don't know, a handful of times, right? Mm-hmm. And you said, well, these girls will fly out, but I've had that too, right? Mm-hmm. But I remember when I was on the dating apps, and I might encounter this, or I remember even a girl who, I had a girl, she drove, slid into my DMs, came here, drove 2 hours from LA to come see me. Mm-hmm. And she told me, oh, yeah, I've had hookups, blah, 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 whatever.
So did they do that and still try to make you wait? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, this girl who drove 2 hours to come and see me, slid into my DMs, wasn't religious, didn't seem to have any, there was no religious component there. She was like, well, she admitted to having had several one-night stands. Mm-hmm. And then she said, well, now that I'm a bit older, I want to wait until I'm in love. I'm like, bro.
Okay, yeah.
I ain't waiting. No, how long is it going to take for you to fall? Like 6 months?
Yeah.
I'm not waiting 6 months, bro.
No,
what the fuck?
So you don't think that the whole aspect of being older and just being more mature and kind of figuring out what they want plays any component to it?
What do you mean? More mature?
Well, you said she's older, so it's I just more mature, in a way that now there's a different kind of
well, this is one of the big criticisms is, so a lot of guys, not all men, some guys are fine when they're in their younger years. A lot of guys will struggle with dating in their late teens, 20s, up to mid 20s, late 20s even. And they'll get curved by these women when they're younger, while these women are chasing around like the really hot dudes, whatever, in their 20s. And then these women will be like, okay, I want to settle down with a nice guy provider, dude. And so what ends up happening is, a lot of guys will see that and be like, hold on. So you spent your 20s, arguably your best years, when you're most attractive, when you have the least baggage, the least trauma, the most feminine. You spent all that time having casual sex. Now you're 30, clock is ticking. You see me as a
retirement retirement plan.
You see me as the nice guy, safe guy. You got me fucked up. back to the streets you go.
That goes both ways.
How does it go both ways?
Because men also be going all around town.
Well, here's the difference, though, is that every single woman has access to hookup culture. Not all of them engage in the hookup culture, but far more women engage in hookup culture than do men. So what you end up happening is you have these hyper attractive men that'll fuck like 200 women, and then you'll have like a large portion of women who will have like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 body counts, perhaps not quite as high as these men who are just basically taking the lion's share of the women. And this is throughout high school, college, etc. And so far more women will have access to this hookup culture. So if 50% of women are engaging in hookup culture with 10% of the men, who's to blame really?
Both wouldn't be.
Right, but
Takes
there's
two to tango.
more. Hold on. Yes, but there's more women to be blamed. Does that make sense?
Well, what
So
if the woman's
10
just looking for a relationship, though, and all these guys are just like not taking her serious right now in her 20s? So
What-
she just has to keep going guy after guy because nobody's going to take her seriously.
Well, let me ask you a
because
question.
guys
Hold on.
aren't
Wait,
interested.
wait, hold on. Because she's picking men. One, all you women, you pick the men that you're with. One, and then secondly, you tend to have very terrible appraisals of one. We already talked about this rating thing, although we should have asked it before we. Anyway, a lot of women have really terrible appraisals of their own attractiveness, and then the men that they can get in a relationship. So there's this differential whereby a guy will sleep with a girl who's he would never consider being in a relationship with just based off of her looks. So she could be like unattractive, but he'll still sleep with her. He'll keep her around for casual sex. Women typically don't do that. And so what ends up happening is you women have sexual access to men who are above what you can reasonably expect to lock down for long-term commitment. So you women can sleep outside of your league. Whether that's status, whether that's money, whether that's looks, right? A 19-year-old woman who's just hot and attractive, who has 1,000 followers on Instagram, she can go fuck an NBA player, an NFL player. These are very high status men who make good money, who are typically very attractive. And so what ends up happening there is, whereas you think an average looking 19-year-old guy can fuck out of his league? No, he can't. So there's this sort of differential that's happening. So like I said, essentially you have 10% of men who are just crushing it. The rest of the men get scraps or get nothing. And then you got like 50% of the women who are engaging in this sort of hookup culture.
I feel like those 10% of men, yeah, they might not be able to like hook up with just anybody, but they have a really good chance at wifing a girl because not all girls go for guys that like look better.
Wait, no,
than
the
them.
10% of men are the hyper attractive men that like the vast majority
the
of
other
women.
ones, the other ones.
The vast majority, so the 90% of men?
Yeah. You know how many ugly guys are with pretty girls?
But this goes back to women.
Not very many.
Not many.
This
Not
actually
many.
goes back to women, one, being terrible appraisals, or making terrible appraisals of their own physical attractiveness, and making terrible appraisal of what they think their equivalent is in terms of a partner. And this can be looks, it could be other things. But if you look at, there's this really great, Austin, if you can pull it up, this one of the dating sites called OkCupid. It's in the Dropbox podcast infographics folder. Let me see where it is. It's called the OKC. And so if you can pull that up quick.
What was that?
That was me,
It was you?
Oh, was that you?
I think.
What?
No.
I didn't. Infographics? Do you have it? Okay. So essentially what this graph is going to show is that men tend to rate women pretty reasonably, bell curve, whereas women are very, very harsh judges of male attractiveness. Do you have it?
Yeah, the majority of, yeah.
Okay, so hold on, I'll say it again. So just Dropbox folder, podcast folder, infographics folder.
Yeah, the data's skewed to the left, I think.
And what's the file code?
OKC.
I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
Like, does the way that the men actually present themselves and like their assertiveness, just because like with your case, for example, like they didn't go, they didn't like try, they were more introverted. Does that play any role in their like attractiveness and why they're not getting the women?
That's the
Wait,
strongest
what do you?
predictor.
Hold on.
Yes.
Sorry. What do you? Can you drag it? That's what you should do. You should drag it. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, she asked. She said, "Does extroversion play a role? A man actually approaching a woman and being assertive, and that is the number one predictor of a man's ability to get women. You have to approach women. Most men, the men that don't get women, they don't even approach women. That's what I said earlier. I said a lot of guys are scared to even approach women.
Yeah,
so the more women you approach, the more women you're probably going to get.
Yeah, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah, so-
Okay, that's what I thought.
But most men also don't want to play Russian roulette with their self-esteem too.
That's true.
Like most men do not have the corresponding conversational skills or charisma.
So you don't
to-
think that's on men, that's the reason why they're
Well,
not
hold
getting
on.
women?
Women don't have it either.
But
Women
they
don't have
like-
what?
Most women. Well, here it's not a fair comparison because
We go off their looks.
Like no, but if a girl approaches a man, their level of success is just automatically going to be orders of magnitude greater than a man to begin with. So, and also men are typically not going to be like most men don't get approached. So if a woman does approach a man,
It's rare.
even if she's unattractive, he'll take it. He'll be very polite about it. Whereas most women are typically going to like, if they're not attracted to guy, immediate like creep fear response, and like it's going to,
right.
Legit.
it's going. Not only is it going to like, if there's other people around, like that's not a good thing. Let's pull it up really
But
quick.
don't you think that women, Brian, if they want to be approached, tend to put themselves in a situation with a guy where they will be? So yeah, like I agree that most of the time women won't approach men for a date. But my kind of disagreement on this comes up when I look at dating dynamics. Women, if they want a guy and a guy's not approaching them, they seem to present themselves in such a way where they make it very well known that they would like him to.
Yeah.
Well, what
And
is
the guy still does
what is
that.
the context in which they are doing this?
So it could be things like they just talk to him a lot more in a social setting than the other guys. They're a bit more flirtatious, things like this. They're not just like coldly walking over and approaching and saying, "Hey, hot guy, you want to go out to the moon?" Right? They don't do that, but it does seem like they put themselves in situations where they're around this particular individual much more to kind of signal to him that I want you to ask for more. Right?
For example, the last girl, remember the girl that I was involved with all basically last year when I came on the show and I was like I was talking to her. The way that we started was when I was working at our university rec center as a student, she would run the track every day. And one day she ran by me and I turned around and looked at her, and when she looked at me, she gave me a little eye roll and smirk like, yes, like that. And I said, yo, come here, like that. And she got up and came to me. We started having a conversation, and then one thing led to another, and we just started dating. But had she never did that, I would have never known that she was interested. I knew she was interested.
Well,
because
they
I knew
tell
how to read it.
their, I mean, at least when I was younger, like they tell their friends, right? And then their friends would, it would somehow get back to you in the grapevine and shit like they have ways of letting you know that they're interested without ever telling you they're interested.
But I mean, so I think this would fall back to women's hypergamous nature. So they're going to do this for the top 10, maybe top 20% of men. That leaves 80% of men never receiving that sort of even covert sort of subtextual initiative, token initiative that women will display. So, I mean...
But then are they showing the interest in that case at all? Those 80% of men, are they showing that they're interested in any way?
Yeah, and they're getting rejected.
Okay, fair.
Let's pull up the chart, please. All right, so this is how men rate women on OkCupid. You see that's a pretty reasonable distribution from least attractive on the left, most attractive on the right, and then how women rate men. So women are very harsh judges of male attractiveness. which I think kind of goes to women being poor assessors of where they stand in the dating marketplace, which is typically why they end up chasing fuckboys who they don't get commitment from.
So what do we do about that?
What do you mean?
How do we fix that?
Well,
Stop giving up the pussy.
Nah, even if you don't. Even if you don't.
Well, I mean, you're kind of fucked because you've
Exactly.
already poisoned the well
Is
to
that
some
to read
degree,
aloud?
because once, for example, if you were rich and then you became poor and then your living conditions decreased substantially, do you think that would be hard to cope with? Like, you lived in a really nice house and now you're living, you have you've got a roommate and you're living in the slums. Would that be hard to cope with?
I think it depends how mentally strong you are.
Well, so what ends up happening is, because women end up having sexual access to men outside of their league, this will happen by, okay, you hook up with a professional athlete and you're a 19-year-old nobody college girl. You're going to start comparing the average 19-year-old college boys who are
In
kind
college,
of within
you
your
just-
league,
yeah.
who you probably should be dating.
Yeah.
You're going to be like, well, I've had access to this guy. He's this attractive. He's got this much money. He's got his own place. He's not living in a dorm room with 3 other dudes and we got to put a sock on the door. No, he's got his own place. Fantastic place. He's super attractive. He's super fit. He's got money. He pays for dates, all this stuff. Then you're going to go back to the guy who would actually give you long-term commitment and a relationship, and you're going to be like, damn, what the fuck? So you're going to have resentment for the guy who's actually in your league. So you guys are kind of fucked.
I mean, personally, I've never gone like outside of my league. Like, I've never
Well,
done.
You think that, but
Well, what I'm saying is like athletes and all that. So I know, like, obviously that isn't. I know personally that's not realistic.
I'm not saying all women have dated professional athletes. I'm using it sort of as an example to articulate the point. They might not necessarily have status, but they could be exceptional in one way or another, whether it's their looks or their personality. And then you look at all the other men. Maybe it was a guy who was really good in bed, and then all the other men after that you're gonna be thinking about the guy who really had you wired and figured out. Or you were able to hook up with a really attractive guy. All the guys who come after don't live up to how attractive he was. Whether that's his personality, his looks, how good he was in bed, whatever.
But like, don't men do the same though? Like when they date a like super hot chick or like someone they truly love, like, you know?
No, because here's the thing, right? So while some men maybe rarely get lucky, again, if you're an average guy, if you step to a really hot girl and you make yourself sexually available to her, if you step outside of your league and you step to a girl who's 1, 2, 3, 4 points more attractive than you, and you're like, hi, I really like you. I would like to have sex with you. As men, we get rejected on the front end. We get rejected immediately. However, as a woman, if you step to a guy who's more attractive than you, whether you know it or not, and you make yourself sexually available to him, you don't get an instant rejection. You get, I will gladly have sex with you. I will never, but you, whether he tells you this or not, you will never get commitment from him. You might have sex with him once. You might have sex with him multiple times. He might even he might even string you along for weeks or months or longer. And he's using you for sex.
Yeah.
But just on the basis of your looks alone, he's disqualified you from a long-term relationship with him. But he enjoys the easy access to sex. And so, no, it's totally different. Because as a woman, if you're unattractive, if you're pleasant and you make yourself sexually available to a guy who's more attractive than you, he'll take you up on it. But you'll never get the ring. You'll never get the relationship.
Weren't you just saying though that you like don't like when girls don't put out on the first, second, or third date though?
What? I'm not sure what that has to do with anything.
Well, in the position, the kind of the caveat here, he's not saying whether or not he likes it if a woman puts out on the first, second, or third date, but rather that if a woman puts out on the first, second, or third date with other men and then says, you must wait, that's where he has the problem, right?
I see.
Okay, so I don't disagree with you at all. I actually do agree with your position, but it's like, for example, like I've heard like on TikTok from a lot of women that they say that once a man, you know, who's like average, let's say, and he gets a girl who is, you know, above him, and it doesn't, and during that relationship, his like view of himself raises, so they often end up cheating, and they kind of, because they think that, oh, I can get this girl who is way hotter than me, so that means I can get others. So I've heard
Is this
that
like
view. So like
the
that's
Billie
what I'm
Eilish
asking.
quote, like you give an ugly man a chance and he thinks, I don't know what the fuck that
Yeah.
bullshit.
Is
Something
that
like
what you're
that.
talking
Fucking
about?
man
Like,
hater
don't fuck
shit
an ugly
say.
guy, because then like it goes.
Well,
But
that's
again-
that's not what I'm saying. But it's like how you pointed out. That's like once a woman like gets to, you know, a man who is like above her, and then she kind of raises her. She raises her standards, so it's like she doesn't give other men a chance. So I'm kind of like talking in that kind of similar scenario where a man gets with a hotter woman, and then they think of themselves as way more important because they can get it.
So there's two things. One, he's probably bringing something else to the table, whether that, I mean, all the women here say, I think you were saying, well, if he can be really hot, but if he's not bringing stimulating conversation or intellectual, then whatever. So men can attract women in more ways than just their looks. They can make up for it either with status. You know, you look at certain rappers or musicians, these men are not always particularly attractive, but there's no shortage of women who are ready to date them or have sex with them. So there's status, there's money, and then there's personality. Some men have very endearing and charming and or Riz or whatever you want to call it, personalities, and they can get women this way. However, though, the second component here is that while I'll grant that there are ugly men that can get with more attractive women, this is absolutely dwarfed by the amount of women who are sleeping with men outside of their league.
Yes,
so sure,
that's
yes,
not-
there's ugly men who got a better looking woman.
And then
But
they
it's
kind of
not
just,
as common. It's not nearly as common as the
Yeah,
reverse.
I'm not saying that it's common. I'm just like asking, like, how does that correlate? Like,
What do you
in
mean?
your opinion, like, because, you know, that's fine because you did answer my question. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I have a question for you in a way. Like, I think that's so subjective too, because sometimes there are guys that are dating or seeing women that are substantially or just more attracted to them, and they're just grateful in a way, just grateful, just very loving and adoring of their partner, of like, yeah, you know what, she is out of my league. I'm not gonna cheat. I'm kind of self-aware. I'm a 5 and she's like a 10.
Yeah.
Why would I cheat? So I do think that there are definitely men that get women that are out of their league,
That's a real scientific
Yeah.
finding.
that get
Yeah,
out of
I'm
their league,
not-
and they're
I'm
just
not
like,
saying there's
I
not.
love you, and I'm not messing this up.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with you in any way. It's just about like the point of where like the women, once they get like man, like they kind of tend to go after him, like for the they
added status.
they raise their standards after getting with them, which is what Brian mentioned, and I'm kind of like piggybacking on it, like on where how, again, I've seen on TikTok, like women talk about it, how their man like did kind of a similar thing where they cheated on them because they thought that they could do better.
No, I agree, that's real.
after getting. So it's like that's just the only like.
No,
Yeah,
I
so-
definitely understand that
so
side of
I'm
it
not
too.
like arguing.
Yeah, no, I was just-
I completely agree with the
Both,
points.
yeah.
Okay. Here, let's do. Can we go to Twitch really quick? You guys, go to twitch.tv/whatever. Drop us a follow and a Prime sub if you have one. Guys, if you have Amazon Prime, you can link it to your Twitch. It's a quick, free, easy way to support the show every single month. Any Primes in the chat? I think it's bugged, boys. I don't know. Prime subs might be bugged. Can somebody test it out? And then, if you guys can, drop us a follow, mods, if you can spam it in the YouTube chat. So, guys, we're trying to get to 100,000 followers on Twitch before the end of the year. So, and then we also have a Discord, discord.gg/whatever. If you guys can join it, We post all kinds of cool stuff. We got the behind the scenes. We've got the wall of haters, the hate mail, the wall of haters. Some interesting stuff posted on there. So be sure to check out the Discord. We got a couple. We got a super here. Q, you want to read this one?
Yeah. Question to Q. You said the last 2 girlfriends you had were virgins, non-party girls. You slept with them. I'm just curious why you didn't marry them. Love the Whatever podcast. I didn't marry them because I didn't want to. Relationship conflict. Conflict is a part of every relationship, and you can choose to deal with it or you can choose to leave. And in time, when you learn in each other, conflict arises. As a guy, I walk away. I don't put up with certain things. So I left.
Do you want to get married?
I'm not even sure at this point.
See, but you took that away from her for the next guy.
Took what away from
There we
me?
go.
Her virginity.
She gave it up.
Yeah, but like she was probably expecting for you to be the one.
No, she wasn't.
That's her fault.
Taking and consensually giving.
I didn't take anything.
Yeah, but I didn't
good
mean
point.
it like, yeah, I took
Wait,
this from
into
you.
the mic. Into the mic.
I didn't mean like, yeah,
you
like
tell
I
your
took
mic
this
down?
from me. I mean like she was probably waiting for somebody. Was she
Wait,
not?
so are women owed marriage?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying that she probably was waiting for somebody special.
I'm always confused by this, though, if I can come to Q's defense a little bit. It's like, if a guy breaks up with a woman, he's like a terrible monster, and he should have stayed. Like, she was owed something. But, like, if men start feeling like they're owed or entitled to relationships or sex with women, this is almost always, like, very frowned upon.
Yeah, I mean, because I said I left because there was conflict. So obviously she wasn't an angel. She takes accountability in that. And if I'm being honest, she actually is engaged currently, but I dated her back from 2013 to 2016. So now she's currently engaged. When she got engaged, she texted me and told me, "Thank you for teaching me how to love. Thank you for being a good
Well, that's
representation." Yeah, that's the
that.
message I received from her. Once she said,
I
"I'm
think it's
engaged
definitely
now."
case specific.
Yeah.
For sure.
So just out of curiosity, like, did the age have something to do with it because they were virgins, or was it like just their?
No, they just happened to be virgins.
Okay.
They just happened to be virgins. I didn't date them because they were virgins. They just
Well,
happened
yeah,
to be
no, I'm not saying, but it's like, were they like on the younger side and just didn't have a lot of experience? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like you were like kind of their first like person whom they actually trusted enough.
Yeah, well, my other ex, she was 22 and she was still a virgin.
I mean,
yeah,
that's-
so yeah,
that's
so,
pretty young,
yeah,
I'd say.
Yeah, so
All right.
We have some chats too. Let me get this pulled up. One sec, guys. Got some chat. Yo, Horse.